Have you ever been on vacation where you don't have any service? You can't use your cell phone, whether it's a cruise, whether you're out of the country and you didn't want to pay some extra money for the service? Well, recently we went on vacation and we were at Zion National Park, the Grand Canyon, Moab, Utah, with Arches National Canyon, and basically the entire road trip we had no service. And we kind of started noticing how much better we felt at the end of the day, during the day. Just overall, it felt like the increase in serotonin was there, the feeling of relaxation, contentment, all that stuff. We were out on a lot of hikes during our road trip, and we saw that everyone was seemed to be a little bit nicer, in a good mood. So Courtney and I, we decided to take it into our own hands and bring to you the real science behind why this is.
Thank you, John. Welcome back, guys, to the Holistic Travel Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Condon, occupational therapist.
And I'm John Wilson, DPT.
And as John so wonderfully stated in the beginning of this episode, we had an amazing experience going through some of the most beautiful national parks in Arizona and Utah. We got to experience not only amazing hikes, amazing views, and limited cell phone service that we really think impacted not only the way that we felt, but the way that other people that were also at these parks felt and how we interacted. So we sat down and we looked into some of the research behind this, and there was two main things that really caught our attention. First of all, the research behind increased cell phone usage versus decreased cell phone usage. And then the second of all, the research behind the benefits of being outside. So that's what this week's episode is all about to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, when we were at Zion National Park, we had no service and we were there for, basically all day.
Right.
And like I said in the introduction, that when we came back, we definitely, I felt a little, happier. Obviously, we were on vacation, so you felt good, but it definitely had to do with just kind of being away from your cell phone for an extended period of time. Also, when we were out on the hikes, we noticed everyone, not everybody, but mostly everyone out there was, hey, how you doing? Hey, everyone's saying hello during the hike. And then also on top of that, whenever we got to a nice arch or something, they would be, hey, like, you want your picture taken?
Yeah,
Like,
we wouldn't even have to ask.
yeah.
Like, we would just kind of be standing, maybe like taking pictures of each other, and someone would come up and they'd be like, hey, do you want me to take a
You
picture of
guys
you
want a
guys?
picture together? Like
Yeah,
so many times, and we were just like, man, like, is everybody here in Utah that nice, or is everyone here in Arizona that
right,
nice?
right.
But again, we kind of put two and two together because even us, like, I feel like sometimes, during the week, that Wednesday, Thursday, you're working hard, you're on your phone, you're on your laptop a lot at work,
Right.
and you just kind of feel, a little bit down during the week.
Yeah, you're indoors a lot. Like John said, you're constantly, whether it's responding to emails, completing documentation for us, or doing your everyday work on your computer or your cell phone, you're constantly looking at a screen, being on a device. And then we like to think that, oh, a nice way to stress relief is to go scroll through social media,
Hmm.
like at Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. And we don't really realize how many hours we're spending looking at screens. Maybe not directly on social media or some of these platforms, but really kind of like zoned in to that blue light from a computer. So, a lot of the research that I found out about being on a screen and specifically cell phone usage has to do a lot with quality of life, overall self worth, and concentration. So it found that one of the studies about students found that students who are on their phones more have a 20% lower GPA than some of their counterparts that aren't on their phones as much, and also a decreased overall quality of life or life satisfaction score. So that was really interesting because I think that we saw that firsthand being off our phones. We felt like we had an increased quality of life, not really having the buzzing going off or having to check emails or all those things, those distractions. That was another really big thing
Hmm.
is that their memory and their concentration was higher because they didn't have the distraction of being on their device.
Definitely. And I will be the first to say that it's definitely easier said than done because when we are out there, whether you're on a cruise, whether you're somewhere where you have no service, you physically can't go on social media. You can't really use your phone. You're not getting text messages, calls, or emails. So you have to be off of it. And I really noticed such a big difference. I know we both did. And whenever you do have service, that is the biggest thing. It's like, okay, it's kind of just an addiction at this point for a lot of people. Just, hey, it's just another thing. Let me check my phone. I'm bored. I'm just continuing to get that dopamine secretion. And at the end of the day, it's really not a great thing because you're kind of depleting your body of that dopamine and serotonin, which is what you kind of need for, happiness at the end of the day.
Right. I just want to touch on something, John. So was it Maslow that did the reward response study? So there's a big study in psychology that you've probably heard about before, and it was like, he rang the bell and then gave the dog a treat. Rang the bell, Pavlov. Thank you. Rang the bell, gave the dog a treat. Rang the bell, gave the dog a treat. Rang the bell, dog came to get the treat, and there was no treat. So he had kind of, conditioned the dog to assume that there's a treat every time the bell rang. We unfortunately are kind of doing that as a society. Every time we get bored, we're going to our phones. Every time we get bored, we're going to our phones. And it's like this reward that, like, if I'm bored, I just have to go to my phone. And unfortunately, again, other studies, like I said, talking about self-worth, found that adolescent females who do more than three or more hours of social media a day had a decreased self-efficacy or self-worth, which is really unfortunate. I think that kids nowadays are getting cell phones younger than ever. They're on their tablets more. Even if they don't have a cell phone, maybe they have an iPad, and they're exposed to these things a lot younger, which unfortunately is impacting their overall quality of life and lifespan.
Definitely, and this is kind of a coincidence, but I am reading Sleep Smarter right now by Sean Stevenson, one of our favorite authors and podcasts he has, the Model Health Show. But basically, it did talk about a little bit of cell phone use in here. This book is about sleep, so it talked about the increase in cell phone use is actually going to really decrease that melatonin production. So if you use your cell phone 30 minutes to an hour before bed, your melatonin production is going to be way down compared to what it normally would. So basically, he says to kind of put it aside for at least an hour before bedtime. Try to read a book, try to have a conversation with a loved one, something like that. Definitely something that helped me as well. Instead of just laying in bed scrolling on TikTok or watching YouTube videos, putting my phone away for a little bit, helping to wind down even more. Even if I'm watching a little bit of TV, I'll put the blue light glasses on and kind of turn the volume down low. It definitely helps a lot. And then another thing he talked about in here was EMF. So EMFs are electromagnetic frequencies. And something that I had no idea is that the World Health Organization has classified cell phone radiation as a group 2B carcinogen. So basically increase cancer when you're using your cell phone.
A carcinogen is a cancer-causing agent.
Exactly. So basically, the report says that your risk of getting a parotid tumor on the same side of your head that you use to listening to a cell phone increases by 34% if you have used a phone for 5 years. How many of us have used a cell phone for 5 years?
More than 5 years, yeah.
58% if you have more than 5,000 calls in your lifetime. I mean, I think a lot of us have more than 5,000 calls just because of how, you're calling, I've called multiple people a day.
Right. And then, yeah, it's very common to, call someone once, twice a week.
Exactly. And then lastly here, 49% of you have spoken on your phone for more than 266 hours during your lifetime. So again, it seems like a big number, but in reality, during your lifetime of how long we've had cell phones, and it's only been around for, maybe 20 years, but with these new iPhones, with the increased EMFs, you're really getting a lot of of that frequency like right next to your ear, which actually goes inside of your body. So what I do a lot, and obviously, not to do in public, but I use speakerphone, try to keep it as far away from myself as possible. Another big thing is not putting your phone close to you when you're going to sleep. So when you're laying in bed, trying to keep that phone as far away as possible, more than 6 feet, shout out COVID, but 6 feet away from you. So you're not getting those EMFs while you sleep, because it really does, even if it's, just laying there by your side, it's still producing those EMFs that are going to cause cancer at the end of the day.
Right. So as John mentioned, having the phone away from you is very important, but also he told me something I didn't know is that having the phone below you, right, can have the same benefit. So some people, maybe want to have the phone right next to the bedside in case of an emergency. I just keep mine across the room. But if you want to keep your phone at bedside, maybe putting it on the ground, not right on the nightstand next to your head, could be an alternative way to have the phone close, but still reduce your risk of those EMFs.
Definitely. And then the second thing we want to talk about is being outside, being in nature. So the cell phone use was a big thing that we thought that was the reason of why we felt so good, why everyone felt so good out there on those hikes. But on the flip side, exactly,
equally.
is the positive aspect. So why is being outside, why is hiking and being in the mountains so rewarding? Well, we found so much research on being outside, exercise first of all.
Right,
You're
exactly. And
walking.
I think the funny thing that I wanted to mention real quick is that for every negative association to increase cell phone use, it was almost identical to the benefits of being outside. So, for example, as Jon mentioned, being outside causes you to be more active. Whether you realize it or not, you have to walk, you have to, if you're hiking or you're biking or you're swimming, you're being more active. On the flip side, if you're using your cell phone more, you're normally sedentary. You're normally sitting on the couch on a call or scrolling through Instagram. I have not been able to master riding a bike and scrolling through Instagram at the same time. I mean, maybe someone else has, but it's like one of those things where you're either kind of being sedentary or you're being a little more active. So being active was one of the benefits of being outside.
Yes, getting sunlight, getting the vitamin D.
Right, vitamin D is huge.
Recommend really only about 30 minutes of sunlight a day, but being outside, getting sunlight for a few hours a day is so beneficial because you're getting that's the purest form of vitamin D that you're going to get. Obviously with foods as well, but being outside, getting the sunlight, even if it's cloudy outside, you're still getting that increase in vitamin D compared to lights from inside the house.
Yeah, you're just not getting it as strong as a UV because the clouds are blocking a little bit. But exactly, Jon, you're getting just similar benefits at a lesser scale, even when it's cloudy. I think another huge thing was, so not only vitamin D helps a lot of functions in our body, but overall immunity and increased immune response from your body is heightened when you spend more time outside. One study mentioned that there are phytoncides that are produced by plants specifically to help them live longer and ward off creatures or critters from eating them. And when we are outside, we are exposed to those through plants, and therefore it builds our immune system, giving us a stronger immune response as well. So that's really cool, and as Jon mentioned, when you're in some of these national parks and even just parks in your neighborhood, you're surrounded by trees and plants and flowers and different bushes that all provide amazing benefits. Increased oxygen is another one.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, is it better to be inside, breathing the air conditioned air or even the heat and the inside air, or being outside, getting that oxygen, getting that flow with the wind and the trees and everything like that, especially with the water, water nearby, whether it's a river, whether it's a lake. Like Courtney said, it doesn't have to be Zion National Park with the Virgin River. Shout out Virgin River. But it can be your local park that has a lake, just walking around it, kind of being, a little bit away from maybe the traffic and all the pollution.
And bustle
exactly.
Yes.
And it really just does have such a big effect. For example, if you're working and you get a lunch break from 12 to 1, we'll say, instead of maybe sitting inside on your phone, scrolling on TikTok or Instagram for those 30 minutes to an hour, go outside, go for a little walk. And at the end of the day, you're going to notice a huge difference in your happiness.
Right. I think that, as Jon already touched on a little bit, the research out there about just your overall quality of sleep, your production of melatonin, your, sleep efficiency. So that means that when you go into your bed, how quickly you're falling asleep, and then how much of the night you're staying asleep is all directly correlated with cell phone usage and screen usage. So it's so easy sometimes to not really realize how often you're on a screen during the workday and then kind of go on a screen during your break or when you get off work. But taking those few minutes, whether it's going for a walk, whether maybe you do want to talk to a friend, you could go to a park, put it on speakerphone or maybe even put it in a purse or a fanny pack so it's not directly on your body. And therefore, you are kind of getting that double benefit. You're able to still communicate with your family and friends, and you can also get outside. I think that was another big thing that was touched upon in the impact of being outside is the tendency just to communicate like face to face with people more. You know, you are there. If you're in a national park, there are most likely going to be a lot of other people around. And being able to just kind of have a conversation with someone and you don't even know, like a smile could brighten their day. They could smile to someone else. And it's just kind of this chain reaction. I think we felt that
Oh,
when someone
definitely.
did something, helpful for us, we were like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
I want to offer to like take someone else's picture because it felt
100%.
so good to have someone offer to do that for us. So it's this huge chain reaction, which I think is so amazing and important to discuss because we are in a culture right now where it is so common to be on our phones. And though it's called social media, I think we're more socially disconnected than ever because we are lacking that face to face component that we used to have. So,
Mm.
we understand we're very far away from our family and friends, so we understand that the importance of having a cell phone to call and talk to them and to see something on social media and reach out to them. Like, we understand that importance so much. We obviously, post reels and memes on our Instagram page. So we're not over here saying that, social media is bad and we should get away with it. But we are trying to create a better balance for ourselves. And we wanted to come to you guys with some of this information on how you can create a better balance in your life.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about balance, like Courtney said, because we know that social media, we know that iPhones and cell phones and smartphones have probably been the number one invention in maybe the history of mankind. And all the things that smartphones can do, really amazing. And obviously, we're going to use them. We use them for this podcast here. We use
Right,
them for
exactly.
communication. Exactly. We are on the road. We're on tour right now from Denver, Colorado. So
On
basically,
tour.
obviously, we're gonna need to use it, but our challenge for you guys this week is try and understand that work is a little bit different. It is what it is. But try one day over the weekend, whether it's Saturday or Sunday or whatever day you have off, to maybe, put your phone away for the entire day. In the morning, do what you have to do, talk to whoever you have to talk to. But then the rest of the day, try to just put your phone away, go outside, do whatever you have planned that day, and then come back and get on your phone later that night for a little bit, but just kind of see how you feel after spending an entire day off your phone. Because for us personally, it felt amazing.
Yes. And even during the week, if you have an iPhone, there is an amazing feature where you can put your phone on Do Not Disturb or you can put it on personal. So, for example, like, or you can put it on sleep mode, So I have different people who are allowed to come in on different modes. Like, my personal mode is normally when I'm going to work out because, to be honest, it's sometimes, it's distracting if I'm working out and my watch keeps on buzzing me because someone's texting me and it might be something that I really want to know and respond to, but just not in that moment. So I'll put my phone on personal mode, or at nighttime, as John said, the benefits of not being on your phone late at night. Well, imagine if you just never got any notifications. It's a lot easier to not be on your phone when you're not getting those notifications. So, you know, and so that's the thing. It's Apple, Microsoft. I'm sure all these companies understand that. They want you to use your cell phone, but they also understand some of the negatives. So use those benefits. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Maybe you can't not have it on you, but maybe you can put it on Do Not Disturb and let, that one person through in case of an emergency or something, and then you are being disconnected, but also, having it in case you need it. But as John has mentioned, the EMFs are still there. So the
Exactly. So
best
just
thing to do would be to, put it away, far away from you where you're not. Same thing with the watch. You can put your watch on Do Not Disturb so it's not buzzing you
And
either.
that's the other thing that people have to realize is that EMFs aren't just through cell phone use. They're laptops, iPads, Apple Watches, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. They're all, Alexa. They all have the
She's listening.
they all have the EMF. So a big thing. Shout out Alexa. The big thing that they actually talked about in the book a little bit as well is that you can, unplug the Wi-Fi when you go to sleep at night, or kind of turn it off. Doing stuff like that. Also, like what Courtney was talking about with the personal mode, you can put time limits on different
Right. Yeah. The
apps.
personal mode you can do a time limit on as well. You could just do
So
it for an hour or 2 hours,
yeah,
and then it'll automatically go off.
yeah.
So
So basically, a time limit on the social media apps. Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok. Those ones specifically. Maybe just putting 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on how much you use it. And then once that time limit comes up, it's like, okay, like it
yeah, it
kind of
literally
warns you.
won't let you. It says like you have reached your time limit,
Yeah.
and then you can either say okay, which is a way bigger button, or underneath it's like give me a little extra time, and then you can pick a little extra time. But I have a time limit on Instagram, and I really enjoy it. Because there's been times where I've got my 15 minutes, and then I'm like, all right, done for the day.
Yeah. So go ahead and try those things. Get outside this weekend. Go on a walk, go on a hike. Just go to the closest park that you can find, and just take a walk around, and do everything you can to kind of get away from the electronics for a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, and if you're in Florida and maybe you can't walk or hike, you can, or I mean, you can walk, obviously, sorry, but you could go on a bike ride. You could, go paddleboarding, go kayaking, go boating. Something, again, normally if you're on a boat, you're not like swimming in the water with your phone. You kind of have to put your phone aside. So anywhere that you can just kind of disconnect shows so many positive benefits, guys. Think about how good you feel on those good days and ways that you could take it a step further. And that's all we're trying to give you, that information on how to increase your overall quality of life, decrease your risk of disease, increase your immune system, your, bones, your skin, every positive benefit that you can get just from doing two simple things a week: decreasing your cell phone usage and increasing your time outside. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode, guys. As Jon mentioned, we are now here in Denver, Colorado. So this is our first recording from Denver. So if there's a little static or anything, we apologize, and we're going to be working on how to get it better. So those things are your homework for this week. As always, if you have any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section, because we would love to hear maybe what are some things you're doing to stay off your phone and get more time outside.
Peace.